She's down in Boca Raton, Florida. That's where the Futures Industry Association's annual gathering is underway. Let's take a look.
We have the early birds out here, huh?
I think people are still recovering from Cheap Trick last night. Well, what an honor it is to kick off what I'm viewing as Day of Legends at FIA, given who I have the esteemed honor of interviewing and then what the rest of the day looks like. So, Vinnie, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for bringing this gorgeous trophy. We're thrilled to have you here.
It's great to be here with friends and some folks I haven't seen in a very long time. It's fantastic to be with you, Lynn. Thank you for inviting me. And it is quite an amazing trophy, isn't it? I have to give it a hand.
All right. We got to give another round of applause for the Florida Panthers. So, Vinnie, you've had such a storied life, storied career. Thank you from all of us in this room for your contributions to the industry, but most importantly, thank you from all of us here and outside of these four walls for your service to our great country.
I want to move this chair so I can see you better. Okay.
Given all of the success you've had, you graduated from West Point, spent time in the Army, were a guiding force around NYMEX and its evolution from floor-based to screen, founded Virtu, Madison Tyler, and its predecessors. But then you also decided to make a pretty big pivot in your life and breed a Kentucky Derby winner.
Yeah, that's cool.
By a hockey team that wound up winning this cup.
Yeah, that's cool.
What lessons have you taken from all of your success, all of your experience that have led to such success in disparate industries that no one would ever predict?
I think for me, I was truly formed through my military experience. And it's really pretty simple, right? You conduct yourself in cohorts, in groups of people with clearly identified objectives. In terms of military, right, we have a mission statement. And the idea around how do you get a group of folks to all be the best at their role towards achieving that mission. And the idea really comes down to what is the sinew, what's the connectivity between those individuals? It's usually always the amount of trust. An organization is usually as good as the lowest denomination of trust amongst the most important participants. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So I think you learn that in the military, and of course there you have some arduous physical dimension to your tasks and missions. And then when I came to Wall Street, and trust requires enormous discipline, right? You know, you have to earn that trust, you bestow trust, and you maintain it through enormous discipline and efficiency of your communication. So that's how you get better and better at stuff. So it's really that cycle of leadership. If you want to think of it sort of as a pyramid, it starts with trust, and trust breeds more communication, and communication by definition becomes efficient, which promotes self-discipline. And then when you have a group that's very disciplined, you tend to take on larger and larger challenges and different challenges. Yeah.
Such an important guiding core principle, if you will, particularly given the group that we're in front of today. The core principle is something we're all familiar with.
And the exciting complexity, not to segue, and I don't want to take over your interview, but the complexities around our services industry, they're exciting. but they require enormous discipline and discernment. You know, where do you apply your capital investment amongst a range of technological opportunities? That's a real big question, because there's no doubt in my mind that firms are going to have to discern how they invest their capital and what they become expert at, and what they are not expert at, and such they, through trust, take through third-party relationships. But I hope that didn't sound like jibber jabber, but that's how I view technology.
Well, I think it's a really important point that you just raised about capital deployment.
Yeah.
And something that I know is on the mind of every CEO, some of the CEOs in this room and outside of these four walls. If you think about how you built enterprises,
right,
and how you've applied capital deployment.
Yeah.
Are there deals that, when you think back?
I told that was a secret. She asked me backstage. She said, "Can I ask you about the big deal that got away?" I said, "I'd rather not."
Well, what about your favorite one?
My favorite deal? I don't think in terms of. I don't. My brain doesn't work in terms of like discrete events and results. It's like it's always a continuum of curiosities and puzzles that I sort of take on and create. But I really don't think in terms of deals, because I feel sometimes like it makes you static, right? Like,
Fair point.
Like when we formed Virtu, right? That was a discrete moment, but the next day, the evolution of the firm. So, like I don't think, oh gosh, I bought this for this amount and I made that much when I sold it. That's not in my consciousness.
Fair point.
It's usually why I hardly ever sell anything, really. Yeah. But,
well, this deal was pretty good. I would
this
say.
is a great deal on many levels, but and then you can't define everything in terms of money, all right?
Well, that's fair.
I mean, the amount of impact this championship and the range of impact on the community and the broader environs, right, of South Florida, it's incalculable. When you look at a young fan's face, the first time she's coming to a game with their mom and dad, and you know you're providing for them it's almost a transcendent experience, and we all remember the first sporting event or the first event that we perceived to be larger than our ability to imagine at the time. That's transcendental.
And you've done a great job of creating such a family-friendly environment at the Panthers
Thank you.
And that's
Thank you.
building on the next generation of fans, looking forward to the next generation of fans and the enduring legacy.
Because I was that kid whose dad explained to him early on, I don't have enough money to bring you to a Yankee game. So I wrote, there was a cereal company called H.O. Oats. I don't know if anybody remembers H.O. Oats. I think my whole life's a false memory, but it was like an oatmeal anyway. And in those days, you would do things like collect box tops. And I wrote into this address. And on early on a Saturday morning, my mother drops this envelope. You got this envelope from H.O. Oats, and there were 2 tickets in it. That's how I got to my first Yankee game.
Oh, wow.
And that was September 1st, 1962. And my dad took me. And on the way to the game, he said, we're going to sit above third base. And he told me the section number was section 16. And the reason we're going to sit there is because left-handed batters tend to foul off more than right-handed batters. I never figured that out, and I don't know if that's statistically accurate. And they tend to, come into the first mezzanine, section 16. So he took the tickets we got from H.O. Oats, and he basically upgraded them. And the first inning, a gentleman named Norm Seaburn, who was a first baseman for the Kansas City Athletics, fouled off a ball, and my dad caught it.
Wow.
Right in front of my face. It's a true story.
Wow.
It's truly magical.
Wow. Yeah. What a great memory.
Yeah.
What a great memory.
And he turned to me and he handed me the baseball. And at the end of the game, and it was really a good catch by my dad, who was a very good athlete. In the old Yankee Stadium, you'd walk out and the press box was there. It wasn't enclosed. This is I was 6 years old. And the Yankee announcer at the time was a gentleman named Phil Rizzuto, who future Hall of Famer. And Phil said, "That was some catch," to my dad. My dad turned and said, "Would you sign this for my son?" So, of course, I didn't listen to my mother, and I started playing with that baseball, and it's lost, but I remember that.
Always listen to your mother. That's a good lesson.
Yeah.
So I want to pivot a bit to the state of the world, the state of our economy. I don't think we would be allowed off stage if we didn't talk a little bit about it. So you have a lot of familiarity with our current president, given that you were proposed to be Secretary of the Army during Trump version 1.0.
Yeah.
If you zoom out, given your unique perspective and how well you know the current administration, what is your observation of the first 45 days in office and what his objectives are during this term?
Well, I think the president has a different level of confidence and conviction, quite frankly, experience and context. And he's very, very determined. I would describe him as a virtuously intended transactional libertarian. So he has a natural aversion to inefficiencies. Right? He's a builder. He's a visionary. That's his ilk. And I think he looks at his core base as what all of America should sort of grow and aspire. And I think he generally sees government as a source of less than completely efficient functions. And he's trying to make government less a part of people's lives. And we could feel it in our industry already. We could feel it. You just have to turn on any financial media, and people are just generally, quite frankly, I'll use the word, they look and feel and communicate more freely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so you could see that the regulatory regime is going to be, regulation's purpose has always been to maintain standards of fairness, probity, and growth, to grow markets. And the philosophy that informs that, if it remains apolitical, it should be very, very clear to support growth of markets through education, assurance of regulatory efficiency, and that whole cycle.
So very much a pro-growth agenda.
Pro-growth, a real understanding that at the end of the day, capital is a primary medium of trust.
Back to your initial point, trust.
Trust is the building block of our societal structure. Is trust.
So it's that one word that continues to fuel.
I really believe that.
Fuel growth.
I truly believe that. And of course, trust is informed by, indisputable information that's openly distributed. One of the decisions that Doug and I made when we first created Virtu was we made, Joe, I don't know if this is still the case. We have our president, Joe Maluso, here. So I want to give Joe a big hand, if everybody can do that. But one of the decisions we made, and you could do this back then, so I don't know, Andrew, if you tell me, Cindy, you would know. And at Virtu, from the first day you're at the firm, you see the firm's complete P&L when you open your screen. So that's the most critical, I think. It's the specific measure of the firm, at least in one context. But I felt it was the most efficient input to build trust amongst the participants.
So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the fact that this is the 50th anniversary of Boca.
Yes.
CFTC formed in 1974. Where do you see the state of our industry, and ultimately, where do you think it'll be in 50 years from now?
This is a sin, so I apologize, but I wish I could do it all over again. I wish I could be that young person who just, the puzzles, the opportunities, I don't think they've ever been as exciting, quite frankly, especially for the near term.
Yeah.
So the creativity, I think you're looking at a future where the understanding of the markets and their purpose in defining the security of the individual and their family's life and their wealth and the growth of it and preservation of it, finances, is going to be more understood more clearly for better purpose by more people. So it's just I think a real point of explosive growth. I mean, just think about the efficiencies the basic technologies that are being introduced that we could talk about for hours, the efficiencies they bring to the clearing cycle.
Oh, absolutely.
So the efficiencies they bring to the compliance processes. All of these efficiencies, what do they breed? Trust. They breed confidence. You know, people want to know that they are existing in an environment that is clearly defined, stable, assured, and can be relied upon. That gives them confidence in their ability to risk from a personal level and a family level, so on and so forth. So you have that stability because you trust these mechanisms. You become a little bit more risk-friendly. You redefine risk.
So the key to building successful businesses across industry and the success of America, if I'm going to boil it down to a few words, freedom based on trust and transparency.
It is brilliant.
Fair summary?
I think that's magnificent. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what is built. That is what is built. All of the tremendously successful businesses that you've built, and is what has built our wonderful country in America.
Yeah, we are very blessed. I mean, you know, you're speaking to a person whose dad almost got washed off the side of a boat that he was 3 years old. His oldest brother was 9. His middle brother at the time was 7, and it was just my grandmother. My grandfather had come 2 years previous to work and save money to get them over here. So this is a great place. We're very blessed to be part of it. We're very blessed to be in this industry because this industry really still is the vanguard through which people are introduced to the mobility that wealth creates. I mean, it cannot be understated how important for the markets that we steward, we shepherd, we create access to, are believed in by the larger, broader population.
Well, it's truly our focus to continue to live up to the transparency and trust elements at the New York Stock Exchange and at ICE every day. And Vinnie, it's been an honor chatting with you this morning.
I hope you enjoyed it anyway. So I thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing the cup.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing. You know, the whole idea of trust, and it gets distributed through groups. Really, you know, we tend to collect around the individual, right? But I'm a product of the kindness, the efforts, and really the participation of people much more talented than me in the groups that I've been blessed to be part of. I want to make that really clear.
It always comes down to the team.
Thank
you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Right.